Hi, welcome to Zgadgetreview. I have spoken about how I feel about digital media in the past. I did it when I did a video comparing streaming versus physical media, and when Little Big Planet servers got shut down due to a DDoS attack. For those videos, you can go on the description section. My take on it is that it is convenient, but at the same time, you are left at the mercy of the companies that control access to those digital goods. In the case of movies, they can be altered before they are put out in the streaming market. For example, Disney doing that with some of their movies before they hit Disney Plus. For Little Big Planet, a lot of that game is user created content, meaning that if you don't have access to their servers or their store, you don't have access to a lot of the content that was created for that game. A lot of the things that were pitched as being a big part of this game, you won't have access to. And that was proof recently when they finally completely shut off Little Big Planet's servers due to some users using language that the developers weren't very happy with. So they opted for shutting down the servers. To be truthful, I haven't really looked much into this story after that happened, so I'm not sure if the servers are back up. But from what I know, servers are shut down, which really sucks for that community. And now we have EA. Someone from the developing team for Need for Speed went out on Reddit and announced that some of the Need for Speed older games are going to be completely pulled off digital stores. And eventually in August 31st, their servers will be shut down, meaning that if there's any kind of online support for those games, you won't be able to have access to it anymore. Now, the post went out on Reddit on May 31st, announcing that on May 31st, these games will be pulled out of all digital stores. The digital stores for those games will be shut down, which was yesterday. Today is June 1st when I'm doing this video. June 1st, 2021. Also, if you didn't buy the game physically or digitally before yesterday, May 31st, then you won't be able to ever buy that game. Which again brings me to my whole point of digital access to these games. Technically, EA has decided that because there isn't enough people playing these games, it isn't economically feasible to them to continue supporting these games. So if there was, 100 people playing the game online, those people won't be able to play the game online anymore. They're just stuck to whatever pseudo campaign came with those games. Now, these are older games, so there is kind of a gray area there. The games are Need for Speed Carbon, which came out in 2006, Need for Speed Undercover, which came out in 2008, Need for Speed Shift, which came out in 2009, Need for Speed Shift 2 Unleashed, which came out in 2011, and Need for Speed The Run, which also came out in 2011. Yes, these games are old, right? But 2011 isn't that far back. Yes, it is 10 years ago, but there are 10-year-old games out there that people are still playing today. Older games that people are still playing today. I understand that the argument is, well, if there isn't enough people playing these games, then what's the point of continue supporting them? The point of continue supporting these games is that when these companies sold these games, they didn't sell it as a single player game, and that's it. They touted the multiplayer portions of these games as if it was something important within the game. And I understand that's part of marketing a game and trying to sell people on buying the game. But if you're paying money for a game that is going to have these features in it, i.e. multiplayer, then shouldn't you have access to that multiplayer portion of the game for as long as you feel like having that game because you paid for it? If you own a home, if you're lucky enough to own a home, when you're young, without a family, and you have an extra room that you never use or you barely use or you hardly ever set foot into it, would it make sense that the city will come and say, hey, we're just taking this room because you don't really use it that much, so we're just going to take it away? Would that make sense? Would you be like, okay, cool, take it? No, you would be like, no, I have this room in my house for a reason. I purchased this house with that room. It doesn't matter if there's spider webs in it and I never go into it. I bought it as one thing. So I am keeping the room. It's the same thing with a game. When you pay money for a game with these features, you pay money for the game with the features for the lifetime of you owning that game. If these companies are going to start taking features away from games that we are paying full price for, then we should get some sort of refund for them taking away what we pay money for to begin with. Will a lot of people miss these games? Probably not. There's probably a lot of people who are like, hey, who cares? Who even knew that they had the servers on still for these games? Well, clearly there was a small amount of people who were playing these games, otherwise they wouldn't have bothered putting out the Reddit post, right? There are a few things here that don't sit well with me personally. One, EA making an announcement the day that those games are not going to be available for purchase anymore. 2, August 31st, you don't have access to any sort of multiplayer feature on this game anymore because there won't be servers to do it anymore. No one had a chance, no one who probably saw this notice and said, hey, I want to buy that game so I can actually experience it once before it goes away, which happens. There's people that see these games and go like, oh my god, I completely forgot about this game. I actually wanted to play this game years ago, and for whatever reason, I just didn't get to it. And it's going to be available for sale until X date. I'm going to buy it and I'm going to play the hell out of it until the last day that I can play it. And my other problem is EA isn't a small little indie company. EA made billions of dollars last year. It made, I think, close to $6 billion last year. Are you telling me that to run servers for these 5 games costs so much money that your bottom line is going to suffer? And I understand there is a group of people that need to pay attention to the servers and all these things, but you can make an announcement saying, hey, we're going to keep these games alive, the servers running. There isn't going to be anybody actually monitoring this. We're going to probably go look at it once a quarter because we don't want to spend the money on having a team all the time paying attention to this. So we're going to be looking at this once a quarter. So you're fairly warned. If there's any issues, we'll fix it once a quarter. Sorry. Thank you. Have a good day. I'm sure EA can afford it. The other thing is, why completely kill these games? If there is a community that is so small that EA can write them off and say, hey, we're not going to support you anymore, have a good life, why can't you just put out the games for free? Why can't you just say, hey, these games are available, if you want to play them, go play them? Clearly you're not making any money on them, that's why you're getting rid of them. Fine, you're still a business, you don't want to put out games for free, tax purposes, whatever reason you might have. Why don't you put out the source code for the servers so people can run them if they want to? As we are moving forward more into digital content and things that are supported by online, games that are online only. For example, Titanfall. Titanfall is a 2014 game that is multiplayer only. We are approaching 8 years for this game. And granted, it's still popular, people still play it and stuff, but I'm sure there isn't a gigantic community that plays this game on a daily basis. EA could, in 2 years from now, go and say, hey, we're not going to support this game anymore. And this game, when it came out, was full price. It wasn't a free-to-play game. It was a $60 game. And if they decide that they don't want to support the servers on the game anymore, you're screwed. You pay $60 for a game that you won't be able to play anymore with any people. I think you can play with bots, but it's not the same. Again, it's not only the digital content and that these companies can decide one day they're not going to sell it anymore. And if it's a digital only game, no one can buy that game ever again. And if that game needs to have a internet connection to a server to authenticate it or anything like that, and there's no server to authenticate, then what happens? You pay money for a game that you won't be able to ever play again. And this is an issue that is just going to get worse as time goes because games are becoming, again, more dependent on the internet. And we're approaching that time where if companies don't start addressing these issues, people will stop having access to things that they pay money for. Sadly, as a consumer, we are at the mercy of these companies. And yes, we can scream and complain and say whatever we want, but if these companies decide they don't want to do anything about it, there's really not much we can do. So hopefully this serves as an example for people to start talking about this, to start making a bigger deal about this. And hopefully companies, developers start paying attention to their consumers and try to address these issues in a better way. Are you one of the people who was playing any of these Need for Speed games? Do you agree or disagree with what the companies are doing? Let me know in the comment section. That's it for me. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Go ahead and hit that bell so you can be alerted every time we have new videos. And thank you very much for watching.